If you don't want to enter scores into the scorecard by clicking on each student one by one, another way to enter scores is to import them from an Excel spreadsheet. Before you can import scores to a scorecard in eLumen, you need to have the spreadsheet with the scores that you want to import. The Excel spreadsheet must have a column with the student ID numbers and a column for each outcome for which you are marking whether the student meets or does not meet. You may also have the student name as a column, but that is optional. To get the information you need for the spreadsheet, after logging into eLumen, go to the Courses tab and click on it. Then find the course under the appropriate discipline that you teach for the term that you want to submit scores for. And here in this courses view, there's this icon here that's called Student Roster. When you hover over it, click on that. What you will do is you will click on the roster pop-up and drag to highlight the names and student ID numbers from the roster. After you've selected it, copy the text that you highlighted, and then in the spreadsheet that has the fields for student name, ID, and the SLOs for the course, under student name, put your cursor, select Edit, select Paste Special, and select to paste as text. Click OK, and now the student roster information is pasted into your spreadsheet. You need to have a score for each student for each SLO. 1 means they met, 0 means they did not meet, and a blank means that they were not assessed. eLumen will import scores in the first sheet of your Excel workbook. Make sure that if you have multiple sections and you have been keeping just one workbook to record your assessment scores, that when it is time for you to import the scores into eLumen, that you save each section separately so that each spreadsheet just has the first one worksheet. To import scores to an eLumen scorecard, after logging in and being in your assessment inbox, find the course assessment that you want to import scores for and hover your mouse over the score button, and in the drop-down that appears, select Import Scores. Note that in order for the Import Scores option to appear, the scorecard has to have not yet had any scores entered. If you started manually entering scores into the scorecard and then decide that you want to actually import scores from an Excel spreadsheet, you will need to clear the scorecard before the import scores will appear. Otherwise, it will not appear as an option. Click on Import Scores, and now what you'll do is you will select the file format that you're going to use, then choose the file that you're going to import. Click Upload. Now what you see is the spreadsheet information that you imported appears here. What you need to do is you need to align the information in the spreadsheet to the fields in eLumen so it knows what columns and the data in those columns and cells to input into the eLumen scorecard. So the first field you need is the student identification number. You find the column from the spreadsheet you imported for the student ID, and here that's column B, and you select it by clicking on it. And you notice that it gets highlighted. Now, for the button Align Selected Column for the student ID, select that by clicking on it. This cell here now is colored blue and has the letter B, which indicates that it is aligned to this column B here that has the student ID numbers. This course has one SLO, so you find the column for that SLO, which is column C, and you select it by clicking on it. And then you find the button Align Selected Column for that SLO, and you click on it. And you see this field now has the letter C, and it turned green, matching the column C here. If this course had more SLOs, then you would have had the appropriate columns with those SLOs and the scores to be imported in the spreadsheet, and they would have shown here. Note that if there are any columns that have other information that is not needed by the system, it would still show up here, but you wouldn't select them because they wouldn't be aligned to any fields in eLumen. So you could ignore those. Just a piece of information in case you did use the spreadsheet to also track grades or other pieces of information. That as long as you have the student ID as a column and the SLOs as separate data columns, you could still import that spreadsheet. Now that you're done, you are going to click the Import Scores button. Now you are taken to the screen which tells you how many student scores were successfully imported. If there were any issues importing your spreadsheet, there would be an error message. So you have two options now. You can click to continue to action plan, which you do not have, so you can ignore that. Or you can click to go back to courses screen. If you want to go back to the eLumen assessment inbox, then you would click on the inbox button icon up here. So let's click to go back to courses screen. When you click on that, this takes you to this first tab here, Courses. And what it shows you is the Courses tab view of the course that you just imported scores for. And you see here that at the scorecard icon, there's a green check mark. That indicates that this scorecard is complete. You can click on this scorecard icon to go into the assessment and view what was imported. And also, if you noticed, when you import scores from an Excel spreadsheet, it actually does not include any reflection. So if you have any reflection responses to submit, you would go into the scorecard and click on Save and Continue to Reflection so that you could input any reflection that you have. If you don't, then the assessment scorecard is complete as it is. Now, if we click on the Courses tab to go back to that Courses screen that you were originally at after importing the scores, if you had landed here and instead you wanted to go to your inbox, you could click on the inbox and you would see your to-do list, and you can see that that course is now in the complete section. And here you do have the ability to hover the mouse over the view button and click on scorecard view to also go into the scorecard this way. And that's how you import scores from an Excel spreadsheet.